But I think it's also a spectacular day, Madam President, because the Senate is considering President Obama's historic nomination of Eric Holder to be Attorney General of the United States. The Judiciary Committee voted last week to report Mr. Holder's nomination to the Senate for consideration. It was a strong bipartisan vote, the strongest we've seen for an Attorney General in some time, 17-2. It's a statement that members from both sides of the aisle recognize that Mr. Holder has the character and the integrity and the independence to be Attorney General. It is a statement that we all want to restore the integrity and the competence of the Justice Department, but also to restore another critical component, the American people's confidence in federal law enforcement. Law enforcement does not work unless people have confidence in it. And the broad support Mr. Holder's nomination has from law enforcement and from advocates for crime victims, from civil rights organizations across the political spectrum, comes as no surprise to those of us who have known of Eric Holder during his decades of dedicated public service. In fact, in my 3.5 decades here in the United States Senate, I have never seen a nominee as qualified as Eric Holder to serve as the nation's top law enforcement officer. The need for new leadership in the Department of Justice is as critical today as it's ever been. Over the last few years, political manipulation from the White House has undercut the Justice Department's mission, but more than that, it's actually shaken the public's faith in our federal judicial system. His designation was greeted with delight by the career professionals at the Justice Department because they know him well. These are the dedicated men and women who work in the Department of Justice, highly competent, highly qualified, and frankly, I have no idea what the politics are of virtually all of them because it's immaterial. They know Eric Holder is the right person to restore the department. They know him from his 12 years at the Public Integrity Section, from his time as the U.S. Attorney for the District of Columbia, from his tenure on the bench where he had been nominated by President Ronald Reagan, and from his years as the Deputy Attorney General, the second highest ranking official at the department. Now, President Obama in his inaugural address spoke about the real challenges facing the country and the American people. President Obama is right. There's work to be done. There are real threats against our great nation. There are abuses to be undone, rights that need to be restored. We need to get on with the task of remaking America. Eric Holder is a good man, a decent man, a public servant committed to the rule of law, and he will be a good Attorney General. Republicans know this. They heard from him at his hearing. Eric Holder will pursue the Justice Department's vital missions with skill, integrity, independence, and a commitment to the rule of law. I questioned Mr. Holder at his hearing. He gave his commitment to respect the Second Amendment right to bear arms as an individual right guaranteed by a Bill of Rights. I asked him to work with me on the media shield law. He said he would do so. I asked him about revitalizing the Freedom of Information Act, and he was agreeable. President Obama took action on that score in his first full day in office. And once confirmed, Attorney General Holder can bring that policy to fruition. So the federal government is more open to the American public. So that we go back to realizing, with the federal government realizing they work for the American public, not the other way around. I asked about anti-crime initiatives. I asked about strengthening the Violence Against Women Act and defending the Voting Rights Act. On each of these matters, he was straightforward and he was supportive. I look forward to working with him to provide greater federal assistance to state and local law enforcement, but also to aggressively target fraud and public corruption. He said his priorities will be the safety and security of the American people. and to reinvigorate the traditional work of the Justice Department in protecting the rights of Americans. We need an Attorney General, as Robert H. Jackson said 68 years ago, who serves the law and not factional purposes, who approaches his task with humility. That's the kind of man Eric Holder is. The kind of prosecutor Eric Holder always was. The kind of Attorney General he will be. The kind of family person he is. The next Attorney General will understand our moral and legal obligation to protect the fundamental rights of all Americans, but also to respect the human rights of all people. I don't want another Attorney General who sits in the room while others in our government approve the secret wiretapping of Americans in violation of our laws, or approve torture in violation of our laws. I don't want an Attorney General sitting there allowing that to happen. I want an Attorney General to says that America follows the law. Americans follow the law. And no American, not the Attorney General, not a member of the United States Senate, not the President of the United States, is above the law. The rationales for holding up and opposing this nomination has shifted over time, since Karl Rove sent out the orders that there had to be partisan opposition. Now it seems that some Republican senators have even asked, and I say only some, most do not, but some want the nation's chief prosecutor to agree they will turn a blind eye to possible law-breaking before investigating whether it occurred. I would never vote for an Attorney General nominee who would do that, and I would hope that no senator would. Senators can vote in favor, or they can ignore the needs of the country and the qualification of the nominee and vote against. But no senator should ever seek to trade a vote for a pledge of not prosecuting somebody or prosecuting them. That's a decision that has to be made on a case-by-case basis by a prosecutor. I never would have given such a pledge when I was a prosecutor. I can't imagine most of the senators here who served as prosecutors ever would have. When he designated Mr. Holder, President Obama said, "The Attorney General serves the American people." And I have every expectation that Eric will protect our people and uphold the public trust, adhere to our Constitution. I have no doubt that Mr. Holder understands the serious responsibilities of the Attorney General of the United States, and that his experience and integrity will serve him and the American people well. The Attorney General is not the Attorney General of the President. This is not the Secretary of Justice. This is the Attorney General of the United States. The Attorney General represents all Americans, no matter what their political background, no matter what their background of any sort. The Attorney General is there to represent all America. The Attorney General of the United States. Eric Holder should be that person.